By the end of the last movie, we overcame impossible odds to settle down, and then, after a fierce race with our rapidly dwindling starter iron mine, we finally managed to break free and claim a second iron patch, taking the first steps outside of our protected starter area. That bought us some well-needed time to upgrade our weaponry to also claim one of every other resource, except for oil, which we got around by using coal liquefaction. From there, we managed to tag up to unlock the powerful Spidertron. The biters evolving to behemoths made the situation tense for a short while, but expanding to a team of 3 spiders and upgrading to a quad wall defense around our new, fully robot-supported square base solved that problem as well. Well, after 20 hours of focusing mostly on spider-powered expansion, the base has been left fairly neglected and it is gasping for resources. So the first thing we need to do is to hook up some of those newly acquired ore patches to our furnace area. Our furnaces can process 3 full belts of iron ore and 2 full belts of copper ore, and they're only getting about half of that. The plan is to hook up that extra northern copper we included by making that strange outcrop, and that nearby iron which was formerly just outside of our west wall. We will also dedicate the other northwest resources of stone and coal to support the main base. Main base? Yes, main base. Eventually we are planning to set up a dedicated outpost to make both steel and green chips here in the southwest corner. These 5 ore patches together happen to have roughly the right resource distribution to supply the main base with steel and green chips, which means they'll dry up roughly evenly over time. And since we finally claimed some real oil sources for our base, let's already upgrade the regular oil refining with speed beacons in preparation. Up until now we needed only one oil refinery to keep up with our entire oil production, but that's going to change. So we check the ratio of building materials needed to build mining outposts and request a multiple of that to this chest. Then we grab a whole lot of belts to bring the resources back to the base, hop in Spider-Man and off we go! Since iron is struggling the most right now, that's where we'll head first. Now, building mining outposts in the early game can be quite tedious, but now, with a couple hundred fully upgraded personal bots and 2 simple blueprints, it's super easy, barely an inconvenience. The main inconvenience is building the belts back to the base, but at this stage of the game, belts beat trains in every single way. They are more maneuverable and flexible to lay down, difficult to screw up with throughput, and you don't need perfectly balanced loading and unloading stations. And most importantly, unlike trains, belts don't try to kill you all the time. And just like that, we are outputting 3 full red belts of iron again. Next up is that awkwardly positioned copper patch. Yeah, I'm gonna spare you filling in the details. There. Everything seems to work and... oh. Okay, now everything is working and we can belt back 2 full belts of copper to our base. And that's 2 full belts of copper plates. Now, we don't need the extra coal just yet, but we quickly hook up the 2 stone mines. So we can continue making landfill without starving the heavily stone dependent purple signs later. And with all those new resources hooked up, the base is no longer struggling and back to producing stuff at full speed. Now we can finally start our top secret project. Yes, it's artillery indeed. Who would have guessed? It looks like we're producing about 34 artillery shells per minute. It's hard to predict how many we'll need, but my very rough estimation is around 100,000. That's about 50 hours worth of full-speed artillery shell production, and that's only if all the required ingredients can keep up. Less than 50 artillery shells fit in each chest, so as the OG copper mine is running out, we can start adding more chests. A lot more chests. Meanwhile, the base is looking pretty in the night. Now, artillery shells just by themselves are not very useful, so we temporarily changed the locomotive assembler to assemble artillery wagons. But we won't only need artillery in train form, so we automate some land-based artillery turrets as well. After trying to pronounce artillery for dozens of times, that undeniable itch has returned again. Let's load the spider with shells and take these bad boys out on a field test. I know just the right location for that. No, you bastards, not Johnny's Redemption. I'm talking about the new Biter Island. One advantage of artillery over Spidertron's explosive rockets is its 100% accurate surgical precision strikes, which causes only minimal collateral damage to the surrounding trees. That surgical precision is exactly what we're looking for. The main disadvantage of artillery are the intense biter revenge attacks after the artillery strike. But hey, this was Biter Island, so good luck with that. Field test complete and successful. Now let's check the effective range on these things. We can place an artillery turret in the corner of the base to visualize its current range on the map. Well, it looks like we're gonna need a couple range upgrades. While we're at it, let's place one turret in all 4 corners. Even more of the OG copper mine has run out, so let's make room for even more chests. Additionally, we now hooked all green chests together with green wires, so we can easily identify how many shells we have stockpiled in total. About 1,500 already. Since we are done with all expansions, there will hopefully be no more destruction within our walls, so it is time for an important step. Deconstruct all items lying on the ground in the base. As you can see, a whopping 2400 pieces of stone are scattered around my base. Those are not rocks, but the remnants of rocks which got destroyed in the carnage. Not only my rockets destroy the rocks, but also the biters themselves can break them whenever they feel they are in the way, leaving clumps of stone on the ground with every destroyed rock. Those stones can later accidentally end up on belts, in chests and generally in undesired locations which can cause major downtime. So now we have full radar coverage in our base, we task the bots with picking up all that stone before we start building and before it can cause any trouble. That order to the bots was great news for Johnny's Redemption, who now had a great opportunity to fire some pot shots at our bots, and they managed to destroy 28 of them on this task alone. I gotta be careful once I start tasking the bots to build stuff with expensive modules. Now, we don't have full Roboport coverage around our entire base, so we task a spider to walk around and do the cleanup floss between our Roboport teeth. Let's check in on our single flamethrower defense supplying pump jack. It has now reached its absolute minimum production of 20%. Despite that, the total oil in the system has gone up from 310k to 386k. So let's start the real challenge. We deleted the speed modules and the speed beacons to see if a single pump jack producing at the absolute minimum possible can still supply an ultimate DeathWorld's amount of flamethrower fuel. Our new benchmark is 387k oil in the system. And just like that, we decide it is time. We've had all the ingredients for the rocket available for a long time already, but there was just no need to launch yet. Only now, after our final expansion is done and we've hooked up the base to plentiful new resources, it is finally feasible again to continue with the infinite research projects. So that means it is finally time to start launching rockets. Not to win the game, as the single launch by itself has nothing to do with the victory conditions we set for ourselves, but purely as a means to start producing the final science pack of space science.